Hello. Welcome. Hola. 大家好. I am Yin Q, organizer with Red Canary Song and Kink Out, and welcome to the 45th International Whores Day and our inaugural New York City online rally. The first IWD started on the streets of France in 1975 as a protest against the police state, and it continues as a protest against the oppressive systems that assault our lives. It is a very hard time to be on the streets right now, as our health is threatened, our bodies surveilled. And yet we must take to the streets in solidarity to protest the Black lives that are murdered again and again. We take to the streets because we are being banned from online spaces, or because we never had the privilege of that access in the first place. We take to the streets to feed migrant workers who can't access government checks. We take to the streets because we have mouths to feed and rent to pay. But today, my fellow warrior whores, we acknowledge your courage by asking you to join from the privacy and safety of your shelter. Each of our personal situations led to an occupation in the sex trade, where options and capitalism collides. Choice and survival may seem like they are at opposite ends of the ethics of sex work, but they are not. Sex work is complicated. The trajectory of decisions is interwoven with status and lack thereof. Economic status, documentation, cultural, gender identity, sexual orientation, and race. But this is true of all work, all labor. Sex work is work. Decriminalize our work. Decriminalize us. We have called upon sex worker-led organizations to the first online International Whores Day rally to speak their truths, their stories of survival and resilience, to demand human rights, and to celebrate one another. And so I introduce our MC, Ashley Page, who identifies as a queer Black woman living in New York City with pronouns she, her, and daddy. She's been a professional dominatrix for over a decade and a sex worker for more than 14 years. And she's also a fetish porn producer, a kink educator, a sex worker advocate, and a self-proclaimed all-around hoe. I am thrilled to say, hello, Daddy. Hello, Daddy Ashley Page.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Yin. I just want to say it is so absolutely wonderful to be here sharing space with you all. I know that the world is upside down right now and there is madness all around us. But the fact that everyone chose to take the time to share this space in their place of solitude, I really appreciate y'all. I know all of us here at Kink Out and IWD truly and genuinely appreciate every single one of you. This International Whores Day 2020 digital rally is going to be powerful. We have a lot of wonderful speakers coming at you. But before we get to all of that, I would like to reintroduce myself. My name is Ashley Page, and I'll be facilitating today's events. My pronouns, as Yin so graciously let you know, are she, her, daddy, and of course, I am a queer Black woman living in New York City. I identify as a Black woman, first and foremost. And for those of us that share that extra bit of melanin, I know today is hard. So my heart is pouring out to all of you. Today marks the 45th anniversary of International Horse Day, when over 100 sex workers occupied a church in Lyon, France, and showed the world that it was time for sex worker activism to become a tangible reality. And here we are, proving them right yet again. As a woman that's been doing this work for well over 14 years and has seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and the insanely fucking rich, I have firsthand knowledge that your support, allyship, and dollars go a long way in the world of sex worker rights. That said, you can't turn on the news and not see what's happening. So I would be remiss not to highlight the current state of events and the violence that's being perpetuated against Black and brown bodies right now, and for far too long. IWD was created in response to the state violence and failure of the police to protect sex workers, but sex workers, more than anything, are people, many of whom are Black and brown and minorities in general. The privilege we have to all be here sharing space virtually, while so many of us are out on the front lines fighting, protesting not only the unlawful and inhumane death of George Floyd, an unarmed Black man murdered by Minneapolis police, but also the less publicized slayings of Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old Louisville EMT murdered by police in her home, and Tony McDade, an unarmed Black trans man murdered by police in Tallahassee, as well as Nina Pop and the countless deaths that all of our communities have suffered due to COVID-19. Like, legitimately, we're still in the midst of a pandemic and all of this shit is still going down. Now, the fact that we're here, we have the privilege to be in our safe space, means that we have a responsibility to take action to support those that need it most right now. We can start by putting our money where our mouths are and opening our wallets and donating to organizations. There's an abundance of them out there, but here are just a few. The George Floyd Memorial Fund, Black Visions Collective, Glitz Inc., Free Them All for Public Health, the Emergency Release Fund, and Interborough Funeral. Can you hear me? I apologize. I'm going to rename those last organizations. I apologize for that. So you can donate to organizations such as the George Floyd Memorial Fund, Black Visions Collective, Glitz Inc., Free Them All for Public Health, the Emergency Release Fund, and Interborough Funeral Home. These are just a few. There are an abundance out there. You will be able to find direct links and more information about these organizations on my Instagram at mistress_Ashley Page, on IWD's Instagram, which is IWD NYC, and on the Kink Out Instagram as well, and on internationalhorseday.com. So we have a number of spaces where you can connect with these resources. Now, just as our society is on unstable ground, so is our industry, and every contribution helps toward making sustainability a reality in sex workers' lives. And we desperately need that right now. As I said before, we have I can't tell if I froze. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. Just as our society, sorry. So, all of that to say, we have such an incredible and diverse group of activists and organizations that are going to be speaking to you today. And honestly, I hope y'all are ready because they're about to bless your entire life. Now, I'm going to be real with you. I don't necessarily agree with all of the speakers. However, their story is theirs and they have a right to tell it here. So please listen up, pay attention, take heed, and open your hearts. Let's get started, shall we? First up, we have T.S. Candy, who is speaking on behalf of Black Trans News, a newly founded organization made up of Black trans. I'm not sure what that was. We have T.S. Candy, who is speaking on behalf of Black Trans News, a newly founded organization made up of Black trans sex workers, striving to reclaim and own their narrative. Their focus is to uplift, empower, and mentor our youth. Please listen up.
Hello, you all. I can't be too long because it's a lot that I have going on, but I'm T.S. Candy, the founder of Black Trans News, LLC. And I come to you today angry and frustrated about the trauma that the Black and brown transgender individual is facing. I come to you today angry and frustrated about the murder of Tony McDade by police. I come to you today angry and frustrated about Nina Pope. I'm tired and we'll be on the streets today at 5 p.m. reclaiming our liberty at the Stonewall. I'm gonna pass it to my speaker, Tatiana.
Hi, everyone. So I am Tatiana Furman. I go by Ms. Furman. I am co-founder of Black Trans News, LLC. Just like my business partner has said, we come angry. We're angry. We're fed up. Life has always been hard for transgender female of colors. And to top it off, the negligence and the stigma that we get from society as a Black culture just adds on to us living and existing in this world. To work as a sex worker was hard for me. I'm a formerly sex worker, and I see no difference today in the work that I do now, working my hourly day-to-day schedule, from any different from how I used to live when I was a sex worker. I worked the amount of hours that I needed to work. I would pause. I had my 9 to 5, and I would go about my daily life and do regular things like eat, hang out with my friends, and live my life. I would go back to work. If I needed more money, I would work more hours, just as I did as a sex worker. So sex work is work. And I do appreciate France for even coming up with this movement, because it's true. Well, we do need to bring it to reality. It's on the forefront. It's one of the oldest profession known in history, and I survived through sex work, and I am where I'm at today through sex work. Today, I came from homelessness to a homeowner. I am a co-founder of Black Trans News, and I thank that to me being a sex worker, because our organization, fortunately for us, is founded through sex work. It's founded through sex work. It's founded through phone sex work. It's founded through madams. It's founded through organizations that believe in what we do, has sympathy for us, and provides. Our work is work. We're on the front. Today we go out at 5 to march. to march and take back actions for who we are. We are a Black trans community, and we deserve to be heard. I thank everyone here. I know we have a couple of panelists, and I want to give everybody the opportunity to speak. I thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to talk, and I will pass it on to the next speaker.
Thank you. So, okay. Are y'all ready for the next one? Because Juliana and Biani they're with Make the Road New York, and such a wonderful organization. They build the power of immigrant and working class communities to achieve dignity and justice. Juliana and Biani will be making their remarks in Spanish, and Olvin will be translating into English. Spanish-speaking listeners, please stay tuned on your line. Your interpreter, Alda, will be repeating what Juliana and Biani say in Spanish. Juliana, it's all yours.
Hola a todos y a todas, ¿cómo están? Bueno, lo único que yo tengo que decir es que pues yo soy una sexo servidora de hace un par de años atrás y he sido muy afectada por este problema que existe ahora, que es el COVID-19. Desafortunadamente, yo fui una de las que ha sufrido este impacto del COVID-19. Estuve enferma por casi 20 días, perdí todo, no tenemos trabajo, no hay clientes para poder sobrevivir, no tenemos dinero para pagar renta. Gracias a las organizaciones que tenemos hoy, que es Make the Road, hemos estado, nos han ayudado con despensas para poder sobrevivir unos 3-4 días. Pero
Hello,
desafortunadamente...
Juliana. It's wonderful to be here with you today. I have been a sex worker for a very, very long time, for years as a matter of fact. I have several things to say today, but the most important of which is that I have been very affected by this, by the current situation, the COVID-19 situation. I've lost everything. I have no work at the moment. I haven't even been able to pay my rent, but thanks to organizations like Make the Road that have been able to give us free things, especially food, I've been able to make it up until this point.
Entonces, tenemos que estar unidas todas para poder lograr que el gobernador cancele las rentas, porque no tenemos trabajo, no tenemos ninguna entrada de dinero hacia nosotras. Y como ustedes saben, todas las personas que somos sexo servidoras siempre nos olvidan a lo último, nos ponen en lo último y no nos toman en cuenta. Entonces, tenemos que estar más unidas para poder lograr algo y que se nos tome en cuenta que nosotros somos seres humanos, nosotros respiramos, nosotros comemos, nosotros pagamos renta. Pero
we have to band together at the moment. We have to band together at the moment so that the governor and other officials realize that we need help at this time because there is no work. We have very limited resources. And unfortunately, sex workers are always left to pick up the pieces at the very end. We are the forgotten population. We are the last ones on the totem pole. And we are human beings, just like everyone. We breathe, we eat, we pay rent. So we are expecting some type of help and our rights to actually be acknowledged.
Ya, no olvidemos que si todas nos unimos y apoyamos a todas estas organizaciones, podemos lograr algo muy fuerte. Tal vez, no sé, podemos ser libres caminando en cualquier lugar sin ser atacadas y poder conseguir un trabajo digno.
We need to remember that unity is one of the most important things that we need at this point. And if we band together with other organizations, we may actually be able to do that. We need work and hopefully we will be able to achieve freedom freedom to walk down the street and not be attacked and be acknowledged as citizens.
Yeah, también sería bueno que apoyáramos a las organizaciones que nos brindan el apoyo hacia la comunidad transgénero, y así poder juntarnos todas y celebrar un día que no haya ninguna chica más transgénero muerta.
We should seek support from other organizations, especially organizations that reach out to the transgender community, so that hopefully one day we will all be able to come together, to band together and celebrate together. And hopefully no other transgender person will suffer and die as a result of violence.
Ya, y pues quiero agradecer a todas las organizaciones que nos han apoyado con comida, con tarjetas. Sin la ayuda de estas organizaciones no tuviéramos comida, no tuviéramos un pago de teléfono. De verdad, gracias a Make the Road, a todas las personas que estuvieron pendientes en el tiempo que yo estuve enferma. De verdad, gracias de corazón. Y pues que tengan un lindo día y gracias por invitarme. Gracias.
Do I speak?
Buenas tardes. Para las personas que están viendo este live stream, mi nombre es Vianey García, soy una mujer trans que emigró a este país, Estados Unidos, a la edad de 14 años, huyendo de la transfobia que se vive en México, huyendo de los crímenes de odio que existen en México para las mujeres trans, específicamente cuando te identificas diferente, como una persona diferente. En nuestros países latinos eso significa perder la vida. Cuando yo llegué acá, pensaba que era algo diferente, pensaba que iba a cambiar mi vida, que en este país no existía discriminación, que no había abusos hacia las personas trans, que todo iba a ser diferente. Pero desafortunadamente por cosas de la vida terminé haciendo trabajo sexual forzado por otra persona. Y eso fue que me empujó a hacer mi transición, a hacer el proceso de hacer hormonas, etcétera, etcétera. Me siento feliz con lo que yo he logrado en este momento. Trabajo con la organización Se Hace Camino a Nueva York, pero todavía existe mucho más que hacer, específicamente para las mujeres trans que hacen trabajo sexual. Hay mucha falta todavía, mucho abuso, mucho violencia en contra de las mujeres, mucho abuso policial por el simplemente hecho de ser una mujer trans o vestirte sexy. La policía puede arrestarte, pararte y arrestarte en muchas ocasiones, a veces hasta una deportación. La violencia que existe con la policía es demasiado fuerte, ya que en muchas ocasiones, por simplemente hecho de hacer trabajo sexual, la policía te ignora al momento de querer hacer un reporte, se burla de ti por tu aspecto, por tu forma de expresar tu género. Y en muchas ocasiones, muchas no tienen el valor de ir a los precintos y hacer una denuncia pública por lo que están pasando. En mi caso, que cuando yo llegué a este país fui secuestrada, se podría decir, por una persona que me vendió sexualmente. Yo tenía miedo, pavor de ir a un precinto a hacer una denuncia porque sentía que me iban a deportar, que me iban a arrestar. Y esta es una de las razones más importantes por la cual yo me uní a DCRIM New York para luchar para una despenalización del trabajo sexual, porque la despenalización del trabajo sexual abriría una puerta para para las personas poder sentirse más cómodas yendo a los precintos y hacer una denuncia. Y terminar con el tráfico humano, aunque muchas personas no crean que despenalizando el trabajo sexual terminaría el tráfico humano. Desde mi punto de vista, eso sí funcionaría porque muchos sentirían la necesidad de ir a los precintos a hacer las denuncias. Con respecto a lo que está pasando con COVID-19 en este momento, más que nada como former sex worker o como ex trabajadora sexual, podría decir que el gobernador Andrew Cuomo no está haciendo nada para nuestras comunidades más vulnerables, específicamente mujeres trans que hacen trabajo sexual que fueron olvidadas por el paquete del estímulo económico de... Hello. Que todavía no recibieron ese cheque, que muchas de las mujeres trans pagamos taxes en ocasiones y no recibimos ningún cheque. También demandó um, al gobernador que haga un estímulo económico de 3.5 mil millones de dólares para personas indocumentadas o personas que hacen trabajo sexual porque no alcanzaron ese dinero. También que cancele las rentas, ya que muchas de las mujeres trans están preocupadas porque no han trabajado, no hay clientes para pagar nuestros gastos y como lo mencionó mi compañera Juliana, eh, hay mucha necesidad, específicamente cuando tú haces trabajo sexual y solamente dependes de un cheque o, perdón, de un cliente, en este momento eso no existe. Y como organización estamos tratando de apoyar a todo el mundo, pero no es suficiente. La cancelación de la renta sería algo que apoyaría no solamente a las trabajadoras sexuales, sino a todo el mundo en general que se identifica como personas low class communities. Gracias a todos por ver por la invitación principalmente. Y esta lucha sigue, así que recordemos que el trabajo sexual es trabajo, que no es fácil hacerlo, porque muchas personas creen que trabajo sexual es simplemente fácil, pero en realidad las personas que hacemos trabajo sexual sabemos que no es fácil. Y muchísimas gracias por ver el video. Gracias.
So you guys can actually hear me. So thank you, Juliana and Beyond, Alvin and Alda. Now we have Giselle Marie, who is a Black stripper and stripper advocate. She founded the hashtag NYC stripper strike movement to protest New York City's lack of support for strippers as workers and the discrimination strippers endure due to the patriarchy. Listen up, y'all, because Giselle is going to give it to you. Give us just a moment for Giselle to come to the camera. There we go. Giselle, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Giselle. Okay, give us just a moment. We're having technical difficulties and we genuinely appreciate your patience. Okay, so this is our first time having this kind of event. So give us a little bit of patience. Bear in mind, be compassionate. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties. Giselle's microphone is not working currently. We do not hear you. Give us just a moment. We'll get everything back on track. There we go. Go ahead, Giselle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Giselle Marie. I'm the founder of the New York City Stripper Strike. Today is a very emotional day for me. It's been a very emotional time for me, and I'm sure for many women in my industry, especially Black women. Right now, we have it the hardest, but we have a future ahead of us, and I'm gonna make sure that every one of my women, my Black women, will get through this. And the boys. It's overwhelming for me. It's been so overwhelming for me. The one thing I want to mention to people who say they're allies to us, everyone knows in New York that the Black strippers are not treated right in any lane of work. I'm praying that, that you allies, speak up for us when these places open, these clubs open, and make spaces for Black women. Right now, we have it the toughest in our industry because we don't have work. A lot of women are homeless, sleeping on the streets, trying to make ends meet, living in shelters. And we need all the protection that we could get right now. And if you understand our struggles out here, which you probably don't, y'all will never understand our struggles out here. These past 4 years have been so hard for me, and I try my hardest to help every woman, especially Black women. I have lost so many people because of the stigma that we face, and we are tired. We don't have not our clubs to even back us up, and we're the reason why they stand. We are tired. So for the women, the Black women in our industry, we need to stick together because we are all we got. I should not be seeing no woman, no other Black woman right now shaming another Black woman for trying to make ends meet. It's disgusting. This is not the time for this. It's gonna be hard, but it will get better. But just know it's gonna be hard first. But we're gonna get through this. And I'm gonna make sure we get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Giselle. Y'all, please take the time to be compassionate with yourselves. Take care of yourself. I know some of this is going to be heavy. So, give yourself some compassion as we continue on. I know we're all carrying a lot, and day is rough, man. That's okay, because we're supporting one another and we are uplifting one another, and it will get better. Next up, we have Esther K., who is speaking on behalf of Red Canary Song, which centers base building with migrant workers through a labor rights framework and mutual aid. They believe full decriminalization is necessary for labor organizing and anti-trafficking. Please tune in and pay attention. Esther K., it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Esther. For those of you who don't know me, I'm half Indigenous Taiwanese and half Han Taiwanese. I immigrated to the US in the first grade and grew up in an area known as the New Chinatown of Southern California. And as an organizer and co-director of Red Canary, most of my work is coalition building with other sex worker orgs, labor groups, abolitionists, and close to my heart, Chinatowns. I'll be keeping this short to give more time and space for Black and Brown organizers and those who have been more directly impacted by the system to speak more. And before I start, I just want to reiterate and urge everyone in this rally to donate to Black-led sex workers groups, mutual aid funds, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, and others. I know they're on the IWD social media pages, and Ashley talked about it earlier in this live stream too. I also want to urge you all to support and donate to sex worker mutual aid efforts. These are some of the only resources that sex workers, especially immigrant and migrant sex workers, have during these difficult times. And what I want to talk about today is the need for Asian Americans, but specifically, light-skinned East Asians like me to radicalize. There's been a shift due to COVID-19 and race and class solidarity, but there's still more work to be done. If we are to move forward, we need a grassroots movement led by the most marginalized for collective political demands across lines and intersectional struggles. Red Canary started in 2017 after Ying Song, a massage parlor worker, fell to her death during a police raid. And these raids are still continuing. Police are still out there harassing sex workers and massage parlor workers, and our LGBTQ sisters and Black and Brown folks, because we live in a police state. The police state is perhaps the single most dangerous factor in Asian and Asian American sex workers' lives. And this is a time for collective struggle. And I'm urging the AAPI community to resist together. Now is the time. I also want to shout out a few amazing Chinatown organizations that Red Canary has been working with that have made it a priority to center massage parlor workers and Asian American sex workers in the middle of movement building and anti-gentrification efforts across North America. CCED in LA, the CID Coalition in Seattle, Chinatown Arts Brigade in New York, T-Base / Friends of Toronto Chinatown, and Vancouver's Chinatown Tenants Union, and many others. This is the time to get plugged into your grassroots community in your area and to push for the movement that is happening now. And I hope to see you all on the streets if you're able. And I just want to say, none of us are free until all of us are. So.
Thank you, Esther. Let's just reiterate that. None of us are free until all of us are. Hear that shit. Let it resonate in every cell in your body. Next up, we have Lorelei Lee. Lorelei is a sex worker activist and writer who serves on the steering committee of Red Canary Song and is a researcher and analyst with Hacking Hustling. Please welcome Lorelei Lee.
Thank you so much. I feel really humbled to be speaking here today with all of these powerhouse activists who I am constantly learning from. And in this moment, I really questioned whether I should be speaking at all today as a white person. But I also do believe that white silence equals violence. And I don't think it's right for white people to absolve ourselves of the responsibility of speaking out about racism and police brutality and white supremacy that overwhelms our system. A little bit about myself. I started doing sex work 20 years ago when I was 19. And back then I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about safe calls or bad date lists or harm reduction. I traded sex in order to live, and I worked alone. And then when I was 21, my friend Bella started working too, and she told me, I wouldn't let you do this by yourself. And she didn't mean she was going to go on every call with me, but she meant that we would be in it together. We would have each other's backs, and we would be there to hear about each other's bad days and good days, all of the stories that we couldn't tell to civilians. She would be there to turn the experiences that civilians find shocking and horrifying and embarrassing into a cheap wine high and a series of raw jokes. And in the years that followed, I learned that this building a cohort would be the thing, as much as the money I made from whoring, that would keep me alive. Although not everyone in my cohort would survive. Bella died in 2014. And for a while, I thought that my grief would be the only thing that I would ever feel again. But over time, I realized that I hold her. I keep her here with me, and her humor and rage are in all of my work. And we whores are used to being separated. They try to separate us by kicking us off of online platforms, by closing our bank accounts and shutting down our mutual aid fundraisers. We get separated by death and by illness, by incarceration and by deportation, and by a white nationalist state that would offer white sex workers greater social power and access, and would ask us to pretend that sex work stigma and criminalization aren't about race. But race is at the center of anti-sex work law and policy, and our movement is built on a legacy of Black and Brown and migrant and Indigenous resistance that it is our responsibility to honor. In the 1830s, Black trans sex worker Mary Jones stole the wallets of her wealthy white male clients who were too embarrassed to report the thefts. When she was arrested in 1836, the media subjected her to anti-trans and anti-Black rhetoric that remains a mainstay of public narratives today. But those same papers also described her as elegant and in perfect style. After her incarceration, she returned to the Bowery, where she was arrested again and again, but insisted on continuing to live as herself. In 1851, another Black trans woman, Mary Ann Walters, traded sex in Baltimore and was hunted by the state under the Fugitive Slave Act. They wrote of her in a pickup notice, she says that she is free. In the 1890s, Chinese migrant sex workers who were forcibly rescued from brothels by white missionaries and taken to mission reform homes to be turned into good Christian wives spat on the floors and furniture. They screamed and cursed. They refused to eat. Some even escaped their rescuers. The oppressions that these workers resisted and that we must continue to resist are part of the foundational structure of America. It's a structure built out of ableist, anti-queer, patriarchal, white settler colonial nationalism. And countless resistors have shown us that sex work criminalization and anti-sex work stigma were invented to uphold the same white supremacy that continues to underlie all of modern policing. The same white supremacy that this month killed George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and Tony McDade. It's clear that there is no sex worker justice without racial justice, without TGNC justice, without disability justice. It's clear that when we call for an end to criminalization of sex work, we must understand that what we are calling for is an end to the criminalization of Blackness, the criminalization of poverty, the criminalization of gender nonconformity, the criminalization of immigration, the criminalization of being trans. What we are calling for will not be accomplished by a single bill or by a single change in the law, but only by tearing down the whole damn system. I imagine that there are days for each of us when grief feels like the only possible emotion, that there are days when the radical imagination required for this project of mass resistance seems unreachable, but we must reach for it. There is no other way. And unlike so many of our experiences in sex work, in movement work, we cannot be alone. We must build our radical imaginations together in service to each other, in service to the most impacted among us, in service of what has been handed down to us by Black trans women and migrant workers, in service of the legacies of Mary Jones and Marianne Walters, and of the Chinese migrant women resistors whose names went undocumented. We must continue this work with the rage and humor of the whores who have not survived, in service to the whores who are our cohort, and in service to the whores who are yet to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lorelei. I feel like I'm taking it all in as we go. And I want to give you guys the opportunity to do so as well as we continue on. Make sure that you're breathing. Make sure that you're stretching. Make sure that you're in your body, please. We want you here and we want you present. Next up, we have R.J. Thompson, Esquire, who's speaking on behalf of the Sex Worker Project at the Urban Justice Center. This organization engages in legal services, advocacy, education, media, and organizing to build a movement to protect the human rights of sex workers. RJ, please bless us with your presence.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm humbled to be a part of today's event. As a queer, multiracial, indigenous sex worker, I am going to keep my remarks brief as well in order to center and give space and time to our Black comrades and colleagues on today's call. I want to thank all of the organizers who have spent many hours on this event and make it clear in unequivocal terms that Black lives matter, that what we are seeing is nothing new, and that state violence has been the normalcy in this settler state since the first Europeans invaded this land and the first Africans were forcibly brought to this place. The Sex Workers Project at the Urban Justice Center stands in solidarity with all actions and efforts to end white supremacy and state violence. I would like to make 3 basic points today. First, that International Whores Day and the sex worker rights movement is about racial justice, economic justice, human rights, sexual freedom, and more. I've often said that this movement, much like the LGBT movement, has become desexualized over the years because of respectability politics. But I will also say that sexual freedom and sexual liberation can never truly exist within white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. We must ask who has the privilege to be sexually free, to be sexually liberated. I believe that sexual liberation is a radical act of self-love for human beings, an act of healing and revolution, especially for myself and my fellow Indigenous people, people of African descent. And the sex workers movement has the power to destigmatize sexuality in this country and around the world, but only if we eradicate white supremacy, both internally in our organizations, ourselves, our movement, and externally, as so many are doing right now in the streets with such courage. Secondly, I want to make it clear in unequivocal terms that the United States is not a bastion of freedom and democracy. The United States is and has been a rogue nation state in blatant and constant violation of international human rights law. As a human rights lawyer, I have been fighting for 2 decades, among other activist movement lawyers, to hold the United States accountable to international human rights at the local, state, and federal level. And as we know, this is a long struggle because the United States thinks it is supreme and exceptionalist in the world. Our movements cannot replicate the same kind of exceptionalism, and we must use human rights tools and human rights frameworks from a people-centered position from the ground up. As Malcolm X said, we must take our case to the United Nations. We cannot trust this country to do the right things. I call upon all of you to join us this year. This is a call to action for those who are not involved yet, to join us through the US Human Rights Network, the Sex Workers Project at the Urban Justice Center, and many, many, many grassroots organizations from every social justice movement in this country, as we call the United States out this year during its universal periodic review of its human rights record at the United Nations. For those that want to know more or get involved in those efforts, you can email me at rthompson, RTHOMPSON @urbanjustice.org, and I would be happy to get you involved. My other point is that the Sex Workers Project at the Urban Justice Center understands that the movement to decriminalize sex work, adult consensual work that should have never been criminalized in the first place, is part of a much, much broader movement to end the police state, to end state-sanctioned violence, to end mass incarceration of Black people, of Indigenous people in this country, the profiling of trans people in this country, and the eventual end of the prison industrial complex. The decriminalization of sex work is key, but is only part, the tip of the iceberg, and a much, much bigger endeavor. And lastly, I want to call out all of the men, all of the masculine of censor people, all male identified sex workers who are hearing my voice, that the time is long overdue for you to engage in this work. The time is long overdue for you to not reap the benefits of being part of the sex trades while ignoring the plight of the most vulnerable and marginalized of our sisters and brothers. I want to see and expect to see men, queer men, men of all races take action against white supremacy and state violence. And those of you in the sex trade who don't know what to do, it's time to figure it out. Thank you all for your time. Be well, be safe, and let's celebrate and love one another in these times. And let's also make sure that this time the protests matter. They stick, and revolutionary change happens at every level in this country, every institution. Life over profit, life over property, life over capitalism. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, RJ. Next up, We have Biani from Make the Road New York once again. Since our translator had a power outage earlier, we're bringing her back so that we can retranslate and her voice can be heard. Please welcome Biani and Alden.
Buenas tardes nuevamente. Como lo estaba diciendo, mi nombre es Vianey García. Soy una mujer trans que emigró a este país, México, a la edad de 14 años, huyendo de la transfobia que se vive en México, huyendo de la violencia que por simplemente el hecho de expresar tu género te puede llevar a la muerte.
It's a pleasure for me to meet all of you today. As I said earlier, my name is Biani Garcia. I am a transgender woman that came here from Mexico at the age of 14, fleeing from transphobia and from all of the violence that someone who is transgender can experience in a place like Mexico.
So, estando en México, yo pensaba que venir a Estados Unidos iba a ser un país de libertad, donde yo podía expresar mi género, donde no iba a existir violencia, donde no iba a existir la discriminación. Pero lo que me encontré fue algo diferente, que las mujeres trans todavía seguimos siendo pisoteadas, seguimos siendo la minoría.
Upon coming to the United States, I thought that I was going to find a different situation, freedom, liberty, where I could express myself completely, where I would not experience violence. But unfortunately, transgender women here are victims of violence. They are trampled upon.
So, como lo mencioné, una de las razones por la cual yo me uní al trabajo que DCRIM New York está haciendo para despenalizar el trabajo sexual es porque soy una persona que cuando yo emigré a los Estados Unidos sufrí lo que se puede decir, fui raptada por una persona que me enamoró o me vendió sexualmente.
So one of the reasons why I decided to join organizations that decriminalize sex work here in New York is because I was the victim of a very sad situation. I was actually kidnapped by someone who sold me into the sex trade.
Es difícil hablar sobre esta situación, específicamente cuando ya pasaron muchísimo tiempo, tratas de olvidar, pero es difícil.
It's very difficult to talk about this situation when so much time has passed. But even so, it's still very painful.
So, estoy aquí nuevamente luchando por mi comunidad. Estamos pasando mucha dificultad en este momento con todo esto de COVID-19 que está impactando específicamente a las mujeres trans que hacen trabajo sexual de sobrevivencia.
I'm here with my community that has been devastated by the COVID-19 epidemic, especially transgender women who partake in sexual work.
También aquí estoy para demandar al gobernador Andrew Cuomo que brinde apoyo a las comunidades que son más olvidadas, específicamente las mujeres trans, mujeres que hacen trabajo sexual de sobrevivencia, que dé dinero monetario para nosotras, que cancele la renta, que es algo que nos está frustrando demasiado en este momento, que no tenemos dinero para pagar nuestras rentas, para comprar comida. Esa dificultad es demasiado lo que estamos viviendo en este momento.
I'm also here to call Governor Cuomo out on the fact that we transgender women, who are usually the last ones to be taken into account, be allowed to pay our rent later, so that rent payments at the moment can be canceled because we're going through such a very difficult situation. Sex workers, especially transgender women like myself.
También que libera a todas las personas que están en los centros de detenciones y en prisiones, ya que se pide a nuestra sociedad que hagamos social distancing, pero en realidad, estando preso, estando en un centro de detención, no se puede hacer social distancing. Entonces, por eso estamos demandando que el gobernador libere a las personas.
We also demand that the governor follow through on his promise of social distancing and for him to free people who are currently in detention centers and in prisons, because you can't very well comply with social distancing rules if everyone is in a detention center or a prison. We would like all of those people to be set free.
So, hablando un poquito sobre violencia que viven las mujeres trans en Queens, es demasiado. Desde el 2016 hasta la fecha hemos tenido más de 26 casos de casos violentos donde las mujeres trans son violentadas con botellas, cadenas, martillos. De hecho, yo soy sobreviviente de un crimen de odio donde me echaron pepper spray por simplemente estar grabando un video y vestida sexy.
Unfortunately, in Queens, the violence that transgender women have been subjected to for the past few years is unbelievable. I myself was the victim of a hate crime when someone sprayed pepper spray in my face because I was recording a video. Between 2016 and 2020, there have been 26 cases of hate crimes in Queens where people of different sexual orientation, specifically transgender women, have been hit by bottles, by hammers, by chains. This needs to stop.
Cuando uno trata de hacer una denuncia a los precintos, que me ha tocado ir a acompañar con los sobrevivientes de crímenes violentos, la policía te hostiga, te discrimina, se burla de ti, no respeta tu género, tu nombre, y es algo frustrante ver cómo se supone que la policía está para protegernos, pero en realidad no lo hace.
It's very unfortunate. I myself have accompanied people to file complaints at the local police department. And it is unbelievable how the police mocks us, belittles us, berates us based on our name, for example. And it's very frustrating to know that you cannot seek help in these places.
También el caminar por Roosevelt Avenue realmente es algo que lastima a nuestras comunidades por el simplemente hecho de vestirte sexy, de caminar de expresar tu género, te puede llevar a un arresto o también a una deportación.
It's unbelievable how even walking down Roosevelt Avenue almost borders on a criminal offense. If you dress in a sexy way, if you dress provocatively, if you try to express your gender, you could actually face criminal charges, or they could also try to see if there is an issue involving your immigration status.
También resaltando las vidas que hemos perdido de mujeres trans que también en el pasado hicieron trabajo sexual, pero se convirtieron en personas para apoyar a la comunidad. Una de ellas fue Lorena Borjas, en la cual perdió la vida por COVID-19, la madre que creó mucho movimiento aquí en Queens, y por otras personas que también perdieron la vida, y por cientos miles de personas también que perdieron la vida en todo el mundo.
Focusing on one specific person who did a lot to spearhead the plight of transgender women here in Queens, Lorena Borjas, who actually passed away from COVID-19, and other people in Queens. These are people that have lent their lives, lent their services to support transgender causes, specifically in Queens.
So, gracias por invitarme y muchísimas gracias por la traducción.
I thank you so very much for having invited me today, and thank you so very much for providing interpretation services.
Thank you both. It's exhausting how much discrimination that we just experience living in our bodies as Black and brown people, as trans people, as queer people. And this is what this day is here for. You know, this is why we need you. This is why we need your support. So please continue to pay attention. We got more for you. Now we're going to hear from Red, a badass art horror historian who has curated the International Horrors Day zine. There is some fucking incredible art in this zine. So you should download it for free, like right now, from internationalhorrorsday.com. Please, Red, bless us with your existence.
Much gratitude and so much love to you, Ashley, and to everyone who's on this call right now, and to everyone who's tuning in to hold space with us. Over 20 sex working artists, Writers, organizers, and our trusted accomplices came together to create content to commemorate this year's International Horse Day. We made a beautiful zine full of illustrations, horstory, poetry, powerful statements of protest, photographs from protests and demonstrations, and original art. The zine is free to download from our website, but we welcome contributions and donations to support our artists and our comrades. This zine is a creative call to action, a recommitment to hope and collective strength in ongoing uncertain times. For those of us contributing, we've known and called out existing pandemics running rampant, destroying lives. These pandemics are capitalism, racism, the prison industrial complex, whorephobia, transphobia, the US war machine, and environmental attacks. And now we're drawing upon our existing mutual aid networks to once again build community care and safety. We share horstory and art to ready our hearts for our continued struggle. We were supposed to be rallying together, clutching our red umbrellas, holding each other, sweating in the city sunlight perched atop our pleasers. And we say we are still together. We are a digital scream, a virtual chant. We are thousands of red images defiantly circulating in an online world that would really rather silence us. We do this for Lorena. We do this for Marsha. We do this for Sylvia, for Alfonso Watson, Yang Song, Cece Thiebert, Honda Kadar, Alora Wells. We do this for us all. We hope y'all will join us tomorrow in continued celebration of International Horse Day by tuning in for our MoMA PS1 conversation with zine makers and artists who worked on our IWD zine. More details are listed on our site and socials for how to watch.
Thank you so much, Red. Next, we have Layla Raven, who's speaking on behalf of Decrim NY. This is a coalition working to build safety for people who trade sex by choice, circumstance, or coercion. Please welcome Layla Raven.
Hi, y'all. I'm so grateful to be here today with all of you. My name is Layla Raven. I'm an organizer with Decrim New York. Like Ashley said, we're a collective of trans and queer, current and former sex workers and trafficking survivors working to end the criminalization of sex work in New York. I formerly organized with Decrim Now DC, and before that, I was a homeless teen trading sex to survive in New York City. So over the past few years, the Decrim movement has built massive public and political support. And also, we know that we need to go further. It's not enough to decriminalize sex work and to repeal the walking while trans ban. While both of these policy changes are important for chipping away at the carceral state that systematically criminalizes, surveils, and incarcerates people who are Black and brown, trans and queer, migrants, disabled, housing insecure, and working in the street economies, we know that the state will always find new ways to target our communities. We're seeing this right now with curfews across the country. We're now in the midst of a global pandemic and mass uprisings in defense of Black lives. And we have an opportunity to dramatically transform the way that we live, work, and relate to each other. Now there's massive public support for defunding the NYPD. Many of us have been calling for divestment from policing and investment in our communities for a long time. Through the Black Mutual Aid Initiative, Decrim New York has been working with BAJI and BYP 100 to get cash, food, and supplies to Black folks across the city. And we've called on our legislators to move money away from policing and toward resources for our communities. Now people are listening in a new way, and we have to harness that energy that folks have to defund the police and to dismantle the carceral state and to build safety for all of our communities. We have a lot of work to do. And we have to start, like other folks have said, by centering those who are at the margins in our organizing and by caring for each other better in our everyday lives. If folks can show up tonight, I want to echo Candy and plugging that we'll be at Stonewall tonight at 5 p.m. to honor the lives of Tony McDade and Nina Pop, two Black trans people who were murdered by the state and interpersonal violence in the past few weeks. As many of you know, Stonewall was a police riot led by Black and brown trans sex workers. So I hope folks can join us and honor that history. And I hope folks who have more disposable income right now are making an effort to give money directly to Black trans street-based sex workers. And today and every day. And I'll chime in the chat with some cash apps of folks that you can support. Thanks so much, everyone. Happy International Whores Day.
Thank you, Layla. Next, we have Red, who's up again, this time on behalf of Alicia Walker. And both of them are from the Support Hose Collective, which is a small leftist formation of sex workers, current and former, and their trusted co-conspirators in Chicago and New York City that coordinates the Justice for Alicia Walker Defense Campaign. Support Hose aim to build radical community for all sex workers through political education and public agitation. Please welcome Red once again.
Thank you, Ashley. Hey y'all, I'm sharing on behalf of our collective, both inside and outside members, but I want to give a special shout out to our comrade, Alicia Walker. Alicia contributed heavily to the writing and shaping of this statement. Alicia Lily Walker is an incarcerated former sex worker and current inside organizer with the Support Hose Collective. Lily was criminalized for surviving a violent attack on her life and the life of a fellow sex worker. Lily fought back out of self-love and out of defense for her friend and fellow worker. She was punished for this, sentenced to 15 years, and is caged right now during this pandemic at Decatur Correctional in downstate Illinois. We've been fighting for over 4 years for her release, and we will not stop fighting. I'm thankful to be able to bring Alicia's words and spirit into this space too. Thank y'all for inviting incarcerated sex workers' voices into this action. It's only right that we lift up our incarcerated comrades, since this day is so much about resisting state violence and criminalization, and also about the state's repression against those taking action. Black lives matter. Black trans lives matter. Black incarcerated people matter, and Black sex workers matter. First, let us begin by saying our collective is firmly anti-prison, anti-police, and anti-capitalist. We believe we must embody these politics to fully decriminalize survival, dismantle racism, and meaningfully build toward our collective liberation and all our collective liberation. We believe we must say fuck prisons because our friends and comrades are caged and they have taught us to know and feel the horror of incarceration. We have listened to and learned from so many Black feminists, and through their work, writing, and care have raised our horizon line of imagination of addressing harm beyond carceral punishment. We believe we must say fuck the police because, as comrades of critical resistance have reminded us, instances of police killings, violence, and targeting of Black people and people of color are not instances of bad policing or policing gone wrong. They are the manifestations of policing itself. And we believe we must say fuck capitalism because our comrades are criminalized workers, or while they've been incarcerated, have had their labor stolen to profit the prisons and the state, or they're living with precarious housing, or live in places where the air and soil have been poisoned by land development, environmental racism, and corporate greed. We believe we must name these things. And we also believe sex workers have vital insight to share about building a world of safety and support outside of the state, outside of reliance on cops and courts, because those systems were set up to fail Black people, cash poor people, drug using people, sex trading people. So let us work toward building a world without those violent systems. Over the past 3 years, sex workers have seen unprecedented organizing, resistance, and advocacy for our labor rights. We've seen struggles against racist, transphobic, anti-loitering ordinances, protests in the streets, and the most writing on sex work we've personally ever seen. We've spilled into art and cultural spaces, demanding to be seen, heard, and finding support. This has us shocked in the best possible way. This is a fight decades and decades in the making, and I'm grateful to be able to share space today to honor our elders, our whore mothers, and to celebrate however we can, because we need to hold on to our joyful militancy now more than ever. Now let us say something else. We also believe our sense of solidarity and resistance needs to be strengthened by more than just our collective rage at the white supremacist in office. Our commitment to throwing down for one another must be based in radical compassion. Our commitment for throwing down for one another has to honor the fact that Black women, trans people, incarcerated people, and drug-using people and femmes of color have been doing this work for fucking ever. Has a radical thought about harm reduction and mutual aid come to you in a time of need? A Black sex worker probably planted that seed 50 years ago. Our point is this. We exist in a rich and messy, nuanced legacy from which to draw inspiration and lessons from, and we should embrace it. Our vibrant and often explosive creative organizing history is often ignored or erased from labor and queer history. And we say, fuck that. We struggle, we remember, we read, we listen, we learn, and we won't stop. We hold close to these words from Mariam Kaba. Hope is a discipline. Let us practice and kindle our radical hope together. We chant this mantra from emergent strategies. We practice what we want to create. Y'all, we must rise up together against xenophobia, whorephobia, environmental racism, and all state violence. Only together are we going to realize our goal of a just world without criminalization, without white supremacy, without whorephobia, patriarchy, and without exploitation and oppression. In closing, I wanted to say something about remembering and honoring voices. You may have seen the phrase, "whores will rise," circulating. This is a line taken from a piece written by our comrade Alicia Walker, called Whore. These words, "whores will rise," remind us that an unapologetic resistance to state violence, policing, the criminalization of survival is what is needed now. Sex workers have been at the forefront of liberation struggles, and these words that Alicia wrote are an articulation of a community ready to fight. This is from Alicia's introduction to her poem. I wrote this piece, she begins. Whore, because I'm incarcerated for being a whore who survived, so I'll never turn my back on whores. Hasn't the government done enough to try and separate us? I'm writing this as a young, queer, Black, multi-ethnic woman. I wrote this piece to celebrate International Whores Day. Whores are the hardest working people I know, and I'm proud to be in their ranks. I didn't know about this day when I was working, but now I'm locked up and I know about it, and I need it. I want to be connected to whores around the world fighting. I want us to shut down the shame, shut down the racist pigs. Whores will rise. Free Alicia Walker, free them all.
Whores will fucking rise. Hell yeah, we will. You goddamn right. Thank you, Red. Next up, we have Anisha and Alicia, who are speaking on behalf of SWAT Bronx, a Black trans-led organization for Black trans sex workers in need of support with getting help. Please tune in, pay attention. Anisha and Alicia, it's all yours.
Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you for tuning in. So I'm Anisha, this is Alicia. We're two Black, what are we?
We're two Black, forcibly, I'm sorry, wrong word. We're two Black women that are forced to quit sex work due to coronavirus.
I was just thinking solidarity. What does solidarity mean? Unity and agreement between individuals with the common interest?
That is not the trans community, not in the least bit. I don't understand how is it that cisgender people have to speak on our behalf on situations that we should be front and foremost fighting.
Exactly.
There should be no this person or that person talking about our fight. The fight that we deal with day in and day out. It should make no sense that everything that's going on now, that's our everyday life as a Black trans individual. This is nothing new to us. If anything, this is making us more scared to go outside and more scared to pull any kind of sex work, because what if that's the killer that's in disguise, because now he can kill us?
Definitely. To piggyback on what she just said, how many trans identified individuals was murdered this year alone? I'm personally tired. I'm tired. I get it, but I don't get it. I'm just confused. I'm just really confused being a citizen. I'm just so I'm numb. It's so bad. It's so bad. I do apologize. I'm a little tuned out. I'm in the Bronx. They're currently looting and breaking down things in my area, my personal
around
area.
The corner from us, they are breaking shit,
burning down beauty stores. Really? What are we doing, people? What are we doing? I can't even tune into this. You're looting in my area. What are you doing? Like, this is the area we live in. You burned down the beauty store.
As a mother of a Black male, I'm terrified for my son to go outside. I'm terrified to let my son see TV because of everything that's going on. I can't explain to him why a white man killed a Black man. I can't explain to him why we are 90 years past what happened to Black Wall Street and still going through the same shit. Like, I can't explain none of that to him. I can't explain how the white people say they want to help us, they want to support us, but all they do is say Black power. Y'all not out there shielding us.
What's Black power?
If y'all want to help us shield us from the white man that's trying to shoot us. They're not going to shoot you. They're going to say, okay, stop, that's Karen. Stop, that's Becky. Don't shoot them.
Karen. But nothing. We as a Black community, we judge each other. I'm sorry, I'm numb to everything.
There's no
Black Lives Matter, yes, but where do transgender lives come in?
We have multiple trans individuals that have been murdered, like from the cops, from being jumped from other people, from being killed because the boys found out that she was a trans girl when they already knew that they sucked her dick 10 minutes ago.
Let's not forget, when you involve law enforcement, the first thing they say is, let me see your ID. And what did you do to cause it?
Sir.
What did you do to cause it?
Mister.
What did you do to cause it? I'm sorry, I'm speaking from my personal experience on this, but I'm just numb to it. I'm just numb to it. There's no unity within
the trans community. Let's speak on it. There's sisters on here right now fighting. For what? Because there can only be one? We're not Highlanders, bitches. Come on, there's enough room for everybody in this.
And if we don't stand in solidarity,
how can we expect the cis community to stand in solidarity with us?
We're speaking from our personal experience.
This is hurtful right now that we can't even get along for more than a day because this bitch thinks she better than that bitch. Because this bitch is doing this, that bitch ain't doing.
I'm self.
Everybody has a different role to play in this. We don't need to be fighting.
There's no unity within our own community. So looking on the outside, how the fuck is the world gonna see us if there's no unity within the brown and black trans community? Like this bitch hard, this bitch hard, this bitch hard. Like, come on. It's a struggle. We the under fucking dog. We are the underdog. This is so bad. No, I'm not going into it. But this is just so bad. This shit is bad. This is bad. We gotta vote.
Too much.
We have to vote. No, this is just, there's no unity within our own community. So how is the people on the outside, they gonna fuck with us? I said it, I'm sorry. I'm a trans person of color. I'm from the inner city, all the above.
Why do you think
there's no unity? There's no unity with our own community. There's no unity. There's no unity. There's no unity.
Why do you think they think we're a joke? Because we're fighting each other.
Unity. There's no unity. This bitch hard. This bitch hard.
We gotta get along. We gotta do better. We need to do better. If we want to survive, we need to do better.
I get along with the heterosexuals.
Oh,
my battle ain't the cisgendered female. We like this. We stand in solidarity.
Until
my own trans community, we don't stand in. There's no unity between you and I. Seriously, my personal experience. I'm sorry, my personal experience.
I'm done. I can't take no more. This is just stupid at this point. Just stupid, because tomorrow we're still all going to be fighting.
Legislators, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm not going to say no names. We've sat down with several. You asking for money I don't fucking have. I'm getting emails from you now, and I don't have no money. Ain't no money in the budget. Damn sure ain't gonna be no money in no grant. The U.S. is on the news. There's no money. So how the fuck the trans community gonna survive now? Going back to the corners. Going back to the corners. Going back to street prostitution. Street prostitution.
Organizations, now's y'all's time to step up.
Street prostitution.
Y'all are here for the trans community. Show y'all are here for the trans community.
Y'all all got everybody number, organizations, Bronx-led organizations, personal numbers.
Shit. Let's go. This pandemic has shown me who chosen family really is. This pandemic has shown me what is really what with everybody. I'm done. I can't do this. Hashtag the new modern day trannies.
Let's be real with the shit. Like, y'all are hitting on a number of points. We got a lot of fucked up things in our community. You know, like we have all of this that's going on around us, and we're still perpetuating levels of harm within our own community. And today is a time to highlight this. We need to do better as a whole, not just everybody outside of us, but us individually, societally. We need to do better as a whole. We need to protect our Black and brown people. We need to protect our trans folks, our trans sisters and brothers. We need to do better. This shit is killing us left and right. We need to do better. And we cannot be the ones that are perpetuating harm and killing our own. Like, we need to do better, y'all. We do. I hope y'all are really paying attention and honing in to all of the messages and the jewels that are being dropped. Everybody's personal experience is so very different. And we are not, as sex workers, as Black people, as trans people, as queer people, none of us are monoliths. So we need to do better and take heed. Please open your hearts. Please listen. Open your wallets if you have the privilege to do so, because not all of us do. But if you can, do what you can. Take your privilege and do something with it. Don't just sit on your ass. Don't just retweet or repost or like it or share a story. Don't just black out your fucking Instagram. Do something powerful with that privilege. Next up, we have Jennifer from Organización Trans Latina New York, which is a community-based organization for trans women in the LGBTQI Latinx immigrant community in New York. Please hold space and open your ears for Jennifer.
Gracias por la oportunidad. Antes que todo, me uno a la lucha de mi comunidad afroamericana, porque mi comunidad negra y las vidas de la comunidad negra sí importan.
Hello to everyone. I hope everyone's well today. And before I even begin, I would like to express my solidarity to my fellow community, my fellow Black community and Latino community, because that's very important.
Soy Jennifer, soy una mujer trans puertorriqueña. Migré a New York en el año 2000, luego de haber sido víctima de transfobia y discrimen, luego de haberme graduado de enfermería y haber ejercido como enfermera en diversos hospitales, a los cuales no me aceptaban mi transición y me despidieron de dicho trabajo. Y eso fue lo que me empujó a emigrar a los Estados Unidos, al estado de Nueva York.
So my name is Jennifer. I am a transgender woman from Puerto Rico. I immigrated, or actually came to New York in 2000 after having been the victim of transgender phobia. I'm actually a nurse by trade. I went to school for nursing, and actually, after having worked at several hospitals as a nurse, I was let go because of transphobia. And that is actually what ultimately led to my coming to New York.
Okay. Soy sexo servidora hace 20 años. El trabajo al cual me ha llevado un plato de comida a mi mesa y el mismo que me ha pagado un techo donde no mojarme. Creo que es la oportunidad de despenalizar el sexo servicio, de estigmatizar y descarcelar el mismo, ya que somos personas adultas y podemos tomar decisiones de qué hacer con nuestro cuerpo, porque donde exista el consentimiento de dos personas adultas, no puede existir delito.
I have worked as a sexual worker for 20 years now, and it's actually what has brought or put food on my table and what's put a roof over my head. And I believe that it is time for us to finally decriminalize sex work and to destigmatize it. Because when two consenting adults make a decision, that shouldn't be fodder for someone to say that it is a crime.
De igual manera que nuestra comunidad afroamericana ha sido pisoteada y humillada por muchos años, de la misma manera la comunidad trans del mundo ha sido discriminada. Y soy eje de esta situación, ya que en estos primeros 4 meses del 2020, mi comunidad trans puertorriqueña ha sufrido 5 asesinatos de la comunidad trans por transfobia.
And the same way that the African-American community has been trampled upon recently, I would also like to mention that the transgender Puerto Rican community here in New York has also been the victim of this. In the first 4 months of this year, as it is, 20 people have been victims to transgender killings in New York.
Es por eso que me uno al llamado de que pasando por esta pandemia que arropa el mundo, la comunidad trans y la comunidad sexo servidora estamos pasando por una necesidad agobiante. Exigimos al gobernador Cuomo que suspenda la renta, porque muchas de las personas, al igual que yo, no hemos recibido el estímulo económico que ha dado el gobierno federal.
I call upon the governor, and I also join with many of you in asking the governor to cancel rent payments because many people in my community, many transgender people, many sex workers don't have the means at the moment to be able to pay the rent. And this is actually just one of the things that have been highlighted as a result of this pandemic.
Somos una de las comunidades doblemente golpeadas porque somos golpeadas por el gobierno retrógrado y somos golpeadas por la pandemia que nos está agobiando, porque al ser sexo servidora no podemos ejercer nuestro trabajo, porque en ser sexo servidora no mantienes una distancia que es lo que te protege de no contaminarte.
As a sex worker, you are unable to uphold social distancing rules, and as a result, we have been severely affected by that because we cannot make a living. We have been doubly hit by this because of the fact that we can't observe social distancing rules, and we're also we're suffering the backlash of retrograde politicians and government officials who don't understand our current situation.
Y en este día tan importante para la comunidad sexo servidora, le gritamos al mundo que el trabajo sexual es un trabajo y que solo yo puedo tomar la determinación de qué hacer con mi cuerpo.
And on this very important day where we celebrate sexual workers, I would like sex workers, I would like to echo the fact that our work is important and that we make the decision to do this work. And it is important. It is a job. It is a job worthy of respect.
Muchas gracias por la oportunidad y sigamos luchando por nuestro objetivo, que es despenalizar el sexo servicio en el estado de Nueva York.
Thank you so very much for tuning in, for your attention, and for this opportunity. And please, let's decriminalize sex work in the state of New York.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Alvin. Next, we have Molly Simmons and Farah Lord, who are speaking on behalf of SWAP Brooklyn, an organization that provides mutual aid and outreach to sex workers in New York City and New York State. They also work to build networks among sex worker organizations to strengthen and expand their efforts. Please welcome and tune in to Farah Lord and Molly Simmons.
Hi, everyone. Is my volume okay? Okay. I'm Molly Simmons. Before we start, I just want to say that we're really grateful to be a part of today's rally, and also want to be brief to keep giving more space for the voices of our Black and POC community members. We also want to voice our support individually and as an organization for the Black Lives Matter movement and use our platform to speak out against police brutality and institutional racism wherever and whenever we can. We are here not to center ourselves or our work, but to offer our unwavering support of the most marginalized in our communities. And we'll continue to do everything we can to make sure they are taken care of. We are learning a lot, and we just hope that SWAP Brooklyn can be a resource and source of support for others.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay? I'm Farah Lord. I also really want to vocalize our support for Black Lives Matter. We value the amplitude of this uprising. We support it. We hear your rage, your profound grief, and deeply of all, your love for your community. While we cannot understand, we are here to listen and to uplift Black voices, Black trans voices, Black trans sex working voices. We condemn police brutality. And as a mixed race First Nations and Romani person whose family and life has been irrevocably affected by racially biased policing and brutality through generations, I stand with you as an accomplice to this necessary demonstration for restoration, reparation, and an end to violently enforced white supremacy.
We are two of the chapter representatives of SWAP Brooklyn. Again, we're honored to be here with you all today on International Horse Day and carry on a tradition that is joyous and rowdy and radical as we fight together for a better future. When we founded SWAP Brooklyn in October of 2019, we had no idea how our work would shift moving into 2020. Farah and I both come from long histories of organizing, and we are humbled and grateful to carry on the tradition of our community in caring for one another. SWAP Brooklyn has launched some amazing new programs in the wake of COVID-19, including a cash assistance program, a street outreach program in partnership with Vocal New York, a community support group, and the continuation of our Skillshare program and more guerrilla mutual aid efforts. One program we're particularly proud of and we're able to bring to life thanks to Farah is an 8-week-long stipend program in partnership with organizations like Glitz and Legal Aid that provides weekly, no strings attached cash to create a deeper impact for our siblings and friends.
What started out as a small art show fundraiser on March 3rd has turned into our crisis relief fund that has drawn in donations from all over the world and serves sex workers across all of New York State.
We are so thankful to our partners, advisors, allies, and community liaisons that have supported us in this work. And we are looking forward to deepening our coalitions, networks, and connections with sibling organizations across the city and the country. To date, we have provided over $64,000 in emergency cash stipends to workers across New York State to over 370 individuals. We have partnered with Make the Road New York, Glitz, Vocal New York, Legal Aid Society, and Red Canary Song to help reach all of our siblings and get real assistance to those who need it most. We are continuing to apply for grant funding, plan new fundraisers, and find new and creative ways to keep all of these programs alive and partnerships growing.
We understand and embrace that we are just one small piece of the puzzle, a small team of people doing what we can to take care of others in our community. But that is what is so beautiful about us. We embrace our differences and know that our greatest asset is in fact how different we all are. We honor all the varying perspectives and stories of our siblings and community members and do what we can to make sure that we can all work together to lift each other up. No one knows more than sex workers that when institutional care fails, we are there to pick up the slack and to provide care and compassion to others. Sex workers have been resilient, creative, and adaptable in the face of many challenges. We are still here and are showing up for each other no matter what.
Sex workers and those with experiences in the sex trades have a long history of mutual aid and community care that we owe to our Black and Indigenous horse-esters. We are well equipped to be leaders in compassionate, community-focused work because we experience and witness all the varying levels of access, need, marginalization, and privilege of our community members, and build relationships across these divisive societal borders. Our mutual aid work, like so many before us, is a way to radically redistribute resources and find ways to support the survival and agency of people in our community that our government and institutions have left uncared for. Sex work exists at the intersection of so many experiences and identities. Black and Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQAI and more, women, migrant, disabled, and neurodiverse, survivors of untold trauma, hardship, and discrimination. All people that our institution has not only long left neglected, but also still causes direct and violent harm to. We reject these institutions that seek to reject us because we know that they are what keeps us from a just and beautiful society.
Thank you everyone for listening to us today and for the opportunity to speak. Again, we just want to reiterate our support of the Black Lives Matter protests that are happening across the city. We will see you out in the streets later if you are able to attend a protest, and we'll be providing medical support to those who are on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Molly and Farah Lord. Next up, we have Ronnie Bigham and Eve, who are speaking on behalf of the Philadelphia Red Umbrella Alliance, an all-volunteer collective dedicated to ending stigma and violence towards sex workers through labor organizing, advocacy, and decriminalization. Please tune in and give your ears to Ronnie Bigham and Eve.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, can you all hear me? Yes.
Yes.
I apologize, I'm a little shaken. I live in a part of the city where there is heavy police presence. They were actually just marching down my house. But I wanted to talk about what decriminalization means to an organization like ours, especially one that partners up with our sister organization, Project Save. We are living through protests and riots through COVID-19. And so I think that it is really important to understand the axis of racism, misogyny, transmisogyny, and queerphobia through both capitalism and the medical industrial complex. As many of you know, during the AIDS epidemic, it was our folks who not only had to fight the government to get to recognize for what the epidemic was, it was us, it was sex workers, it was queer sex workers who provided care for each other, who provided those harm reduction tools on the ground for each other. And this legacy has been following us through these times, this legacy of providing care through prisons and through incarceration, providing care for our folks who are houseless, who are people who use drugs, and so on and so forth. It's still a legacy that Black and brown sex workers, that houseless sex workers, that trans and queer sex workers are the ones who we're still holding up. And so through this legacy, I want to kind of remember, I know that time is a little bit weird for all of us right now, but I want to kind of lay out the COVID-19 timeline in terms of sex workers, but also our participants. When lockdowns hit the city, we were especially concerned for the population that is houseless and sleep-based. It is a privilege to be able to isolate and to be able to shelter in the face of COVID-19. Many of our participants, many of our members do not have that privilege. And so when we ask the city for resources, when we ask the city for housing, when we ask the city for sanitation, because sanitation in itself is a privilege, we asked that encampments around the city not be dislocated. The city did not listen to us. Not only did they not listen to us, they did put down a temporary law that said that they would not arrest folks for crimes, for narcotics and prostitution. And though they're still not arresting people for prostitution, they did start arresting people for narcotics, I believe about 2 weeks ago, because in the vein of trying to open back up the city and trying to open back up the economy. And so I want us to be able to understand that when we are talking about the decriminalization of sex work, we are talking about it through state-sanctioned violence on Black bodies, on trans bodies, on disabled bodies, on houseless bodies. But we are also talking about it through state-sanctioned violence of the medical industrial complex, when they criminalize us for drug use for our survival, when they criminalize us for testing positive for HIV and not disclosing it for whatever our reasons be, or for not getting tested for HIV. This is a particular intersection that comes into play for sex workers, and particularly comes into play for our members who are Black and who are trans and who are often houseless. Part of the decriminalization platform has to be about abolishing the police and abolishing prisons. When we think about how the policing industrial complex keeps itself up, one of the ways that it does is that it denies how it has killed our folks, how it has killed the various civilians that we remember today, and how it denies us. It uses the policing industrial complex, uses the medical industrial complex to prop itself up. They use the coroner's reports to contempt our people. They use the coroner's report to say that it wasn't their actions that killed them, that it was pre-existing conditions, so to speak, that killed them. Within the sex worker community, we are already criminalized. Our work is already criminalized. When in various cities, when it was advocated that police not be arresting folks for prostitution, politicians around the nation were aghast at it, because isn't the sex working community, who is further racialized and who is further impacted by trans misogyny of the industrial complex, aren't they the ones who are vectors of disease? So we must remember that when we are talking about abolition, we are talking about the abolishment of these different institutions, not only just in terms of police and in terms of prisons, but also in the various institutions and in the various ways that our bodies, that our communities gets criminalized. So what we are not looking for is reform. When we say decriminalize sex work, we mean don't use laws, don't use these different institutions Don't use any of these biases that prop up your institutions, that prop up your way of life to criminalize us, to incarcerate us, and to kill us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ronnie really said the majority of it. I'm Eve from Red Umbrella Alliance, and I had an entirely different speech prepared, but currently Philly is under siege and the Black neighborhoods are being targeted. They're shooting rubber bullets and tear gas. And we had come together to raise money for mutual aid specifically to help our Black sex workers in the community, our Black trans sex workers, queer sex workers, unhoused, street-based, drug-using sex workers, which you may not know, Philly has a huge population. And we were successful in raising money, but we still need more. It's like an endless well. With the pandemic continuing and with violence continuing, with people getting tear gassed here, it's getting very violent, very scary. I want to keep it super brief. I enjoyed listening to everybody, but just to mention that that's what our target is, mutual aid right now, and that we are continuing to raise money throughout the pandemic for as long as the government continues to ignore us. And I hope everybody stays safe.
Thank you, Ava and Ronnie. I know that when I woke up this morning, I was seeing what was going on in Philly and just seeing everything that's happening everywhere. It is madness. I am terrified for us, honestly. So to be here sharing space with you all is an absolute blessing. To take a pause from the realities of like just the sheer torment that's happening outside of our doors is a blessing. And I am so grateful to be here sharing it with you. We do have a few more speakers coming up. So please be sure to open your hearts and your ears and tune in and listen up, because now we have a representative from Colectivo Transgendiadendo. I'm sorry if I butchered that. This is a nationally recognized bilingual and multicultural movement that defends and promotes the human rights of the diverse trans and gender diversity identity populations in the United States. Please welcome the speaker for Colectivo Transgendiadendo.
Hola, ¿cómo están?
Hello, how's everyone doing today?
Pues gracias por la invitación. Realmente creo que estos espacios son espacios que nos permiten llegar a nuestras comunidades y decirles, contarles lo que está pasando con nosotros en estos momentos.
I believe that, and I thank you so much for inviting me today, but I believe that these spaces are so important because they allow us to reach out to all of our organizations at the moment, in light of everything that's going on.
¿Sí? En estos momentos, pues como saben, estamos viviendo una crisis sistemática donde, pues lamentablemente, una vez más nos demuestra a la ciudad de Nueva York que con COVID o sin COVID seguimos siendo una de las comunidades olvidadas por este sistema.
Unfortunately, we are going through a systematic crisis at the moment where, unfortunately, or fortunately, COVID has shown us that we are, again, one of the most disenfranchised populations in the city.
Y pues, a pesar de las circunstancias y los momentos difíciles que estamos viviendo en Nueva York, y sobre todo en nuestra organización por la pérdida de nuestra compañera, líder y mentora del movimiento trans en Jackson Heights, Lorena Borjas.
And in keeping with everything that we're trying to actually do with our communities, but we would also like to mention the loss of our mentor, our leader in Jackson Heights, Lorena Borjas.
Lorena, pues muchas de ustedes probablemente la conocieron o tuvieron el privilegio de conocerla, y si no la conocieron, pues quiero decirles que ella fue una líder poderosa, una mujer trans, trabajadora sexual, que luchó por más de 30 años con la comunidad trans en Jackson High.
And I don't know if many of you knew her, or many of you perhaps did, but I just like to underscore the fact that she was an incredible person. She was a leader, she was a sex worker, she was transgender. She worked with this community in Jackson Heights for over 30 years.
una fiel defensora por los derechos humanos y por los derechos de la comunidad inmigrante, la comunidad trans, latinex. Pues lamentablemente la perdimos a causa de esta pandemia, de esta crisis de salud, que afectó a muchas y sigue afectando a muchas compañeras trabajadoras sexuales en Queens.
She was a faithful supporter, transgender woman. She was a Latinx woman, person, and she was a sex worker, and she supported all of the people in Queens. And unfortunately, we lost her due to this health crisis. And we would just like to mention how much of an important influence she was, specifically among the sex workers in Queens.
Y una vez más, pues también enfrentamos al sistema y le decimos que en estos momentos de crisis es cuando vemos toda la situación sistemática, toda esta situación de opresión que estamos viviendo las trabajadoras y trabajadores sexuales. Hay muchos miembros de nuestras comunidades que están en una crisis total, económicamente, emocionalmente, y desde el colectivo estamos haciendo un trabajo articulado, un trabajo de base comunitaria, pero también exigimos al Estado de Nueva York, exigimos al alcalde, al gobernador y a todos los políticos que se acuerden que las voces trans y las voces de las personas que hacen trabajo sexual son importantes y tienen que ser incluidas en la agenda política del Estado de Nueva York.
I would like to mention the fact that we are going through a very trying time at the moment, and we are facing the system. We are calling out this system. We are calling upon the mayor, the politicians, the governor here in New York. We demand that we be part of the political agenda in the state as we look towards the oppression that we're currently facing. And here at the Colectivo, we are doing all sorts of organizing. We are working with other grassroots organizations, and we are also doing our own grassroots to spearhead this movement so that we can represent all of the sex workers, all of the transgender people here specifically in Queens.
Y que las trabajadoras y trabajadoras sexuales no podemos seguir siendo olvidadas por el Estado, ni por el gobierno, ni por todos estos políticos que siguen hablando de nuestros derechos, siguen hablando de la vulnerabilidad de nuestras vidas, pero más sin embargo no nos incluyen en sus agendas políticas a las organizaciones y a los movimientos de bases comunitarias. Habemos muchas...
We cannot continue to allow these politicians who speak on our vulnerability, who continue to brush us aside as though we didn't exist. We count, we are sex workers, we are transgender people. We should be part of the political agenda, and we will not be silent. We will fight to be part of that agenda.
Y tenemos que comenzar a cambiar nuestros discursos bonitos, nuestros discursos que siempre tenemos que estar pidiendo permiso para hacer las cosas. Es momento de reivindicar nuestros derechos, reivindicar lo que está viviendo nuestra comunidad en estos momentos de crisis y sobre todo decirle a la comunidad translatina, a la comunidad que hace trabajo sexual, que no estamos solas, no estamos solos, solex, que tenemos que comenzar a hacer nuestros eventos, nuestra abogacía por nuestros derechos, seguir manteniendo la resistencia y la lucha, porque ahora estamos viviendo una situación crítica, donde se nos sigue dejando de lado y se nos sigue criminalizando.
And one very important thing that I'd like to underscore is that we need to change this friendly or kind discourse that we currently use or employ. We need to tell people what we really feel. We need to advocate for all the trans Latin gender and sex workers that we have here in Queens and New York. We have to face these politicians and demand our rights. We count, and it's very important that we advocate for ourselves as well, so that we can come out of this crisis stronger.
Y Nueva York tiene una deuda. Nueva York tiene una deuda con la comunidad trans, con la comunidad inmigrante, con la comunidad trabajadora sexual. Nueva York tiene una deuda y esa deuda se la estamos poniendo en la mesa en estos momentos de crisis y después de la crisis. No vamos a estar silenciadas, vamos a seguir hablando.
We will not be silenced, and that is because New York owes us. It is indebted to us. It is indebted to the transgender population. It is indebted to sex workers. It is indebted to immigrants, and that our demands are now on the table, and we are fighting for those demands to be met.
Y estamos cansadas de pedir. Ya nos cansamos de pedir. Ahora exigiremos que se garanticen los derechos de la comunidad trans que hace trabajo sexual y específicamente las comunidades migrantes, las comunidades negras que siguen siendo olvidadas y que las organizaciones que están liderando y que están hablando por nosotras, que no se les olvide. No pueden hablar de nosotras sin nosotras y tenemos que ser nosotras quienes estemos frente a la lucha y frente a nuestros derechos y necesidades.
So because of this, we are tired of asking. We have grown tired of this. Now we are demanding that our rights be met as sex workers, as transgender people. And also to all of the organizations that are fighting on our behalf, you cannot fight on our behalf without us being present. We need to be there. We need to be part of the discourse. We need to be part of the struggle.
Y como decía Lorena, tenemos que seguir luchando como unas perras y tenemos que seguir enfrentando este sistema que constantemente nos sigue pisoteando y nos sigue olvidando. Yo siento...
And as Lorena mentioned, we need to keep fighting like bitches. We need to be ruthless. We need to fight all of these organizations that keep trampling us now and again.
Y estamos resistiendo. Ahora, pues, la situación...
We are resisting. The situation at the moment is such that
en este momento estamos ayudando a 215 compañeras trans, trabajadoras sexuales, todas latinas, comunidad negra, comunidad específicamente inmigrante también, y es ahora cuando vemos la realidad de las necesidades de nuestra comunidad. Es ahora cuando Nueva York tiene que preguntarse y cuestionarse, y el sistema y la sociedad, ¿hasta cuándo se seguirán vulnerabilizando los derechos de una población que históricamente ha sido olvidada?
And at the moment, we are helping 215 of our comrades, of our friends who are transgender, who are Latinx, who are Black, who are immigrant. And this is something that, of course, we talk about because society needs to think about this. New York has to think about this. How long are we going to continue trampling all of these people's rights? How long are we going to continue criminalizing and blaming them for the work that they follow through on?
Y que el mundo sepa que los discursos moderados y que los discursos que suenan bonitos no van a ser algo que la comunidad trans trabajadora sexual va a seguir haciendo. Nos cansamos de tener que estar hablando de una manera bonita para que el Estado o el gobierno nos escuche. Es hora de salir y enfrentar este sistema que constantemente nos sigue oprimiendo y nos sigue castigando por el simple hecho de reivindicar nuestras identidades, de reivindicar nuestra existencia como personas trans trabajadoras sexuales.
And one very important thing, we, the transgender community, we're tired of the pretty speeches. We're tired of the kind speeches. Those need to stop. We need to go out there. We need to demand what we want. We need to demand that our rights be met as sex workers, as transgender people, as immigrants, so that we can finally put the system down, so that we can feel vindicated when we ask what we want and what we demand.
Y seguiremos manteniendo el legado de Lorena y el legado de nuestras comunidades y compañeras que hemos perdido en este frente de batalla, pero seguimos firmes, seguiremos luchando y pues nada, agradecerles por la oportunidad del espacio, la oportunidad de permitirnos hablar sobre el trabajo y el legado que Lorena nos deja y sobre todo pues decirle a la comunidad trans y a la comunidad que hace trabajo sexual que no estamos solas, solos, que luchemos juntos, juntex, en estos momentos, porque si no luchamos juntos o juntas, nos van a matar por separados y nos van a seguir olvidando.
One very important thing that I'd like to mention before I leave, I just want to underscore everything I've said by talking about Lorena's legacy, everything that she fought for, and the fact that she was on the front lines of the battleground. Thank you so much for this space. Thank you for Lorena, for her work, for her legacy. Let us continue doing that as sex workers, as transgender people, males and females. We have to remember that if we don't fight together, they're going to kill us separately. So we need to make sure we fight the good fight and do what we can to help our community.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We do have to continue to fight the good fight. We do need to continue to support our community, all of our communities, all of the ways in which we identify. We need to lift one another up right now more than anything else. know we're running a little bit over, but that's okay because this next person, oh, my heart and soul is ready. Yo, Cayenne is about to bless everybody in here. Y'all need to listen up. If you need to get up and stretch, you do that. But you come back right here. You sit your butt down and you take this in because Cayenne is gonna bless you. Now, if y'all don't know who Cayenne Dora Show is, she is an author and founder of Glitz, which is an organization that puts sex workers first and builds community globally. Glitz is on the front line doing COVID-19 relief work and bringing the community from jail into sustainability. Please welcome Cayenne Dora Show.
I can't see me. Okay. Hi. Happy International Horse Day, bitches. So, I want to start with saying this is the first time this has ever happened where we've had to organize. And I speak on behalf of a lot of hoes, ratchet hoes, kind hoes, smart hoes, dumb hoes, ho-hoes. I am that bitch to actually call people in, not out. I've witnessed some really nasty stuff going on within the organizing world. And it's not cool. Right now, Liam, my heart goes out to you. I know what it's like to lose a mom, especially a trans mom. And I owe you all a respect and love. That's a hard thing to deal with. Now, with some of the organizing around sex work and some of the stuff going on in the world today, we don't know how to communicate with each other. I was stalked yesterday. I am a 50-something plus hoe. I was stalked most of the day yesterday. My daughters were called by a hoe. This is inappropriate. We have to find a way to do this shit better. Decrim New York, God bless y'all, because y'all were the people that wouldn't give me access for 2 years. And I am a person helping hoes. I'm not the person that likes to have a problem. I don't walk with kings. I walk with queens. I walk in circles that help people. I don't really give a fuck about somebody's personal problems. I want us to find a way to unify, to work with SWAP. I am literally on the board of SWAP USA. SWAP is predominantly Black now. The new SWAP is mostly people of color. A lot of people don't know that because people are busy being whatever. It's up on them. But most of the things I'm connected to speak to the level of humanity. Some of these organizers, some of these young, zealous, I don't know what to call them, millennials, zennials, I don't really give a fuck. Once again, learn how to organize well. If you're disrespecting your community, you fail. So here's a little education on doing right. Shut the fuck up. If you have nothing good to say to a sex worker, pay them. Pay them. I like $1 cash app all sex workers. Me being a founder of an agency was because of organizations like DCREM, because of Red Umbrella when there was a Red Umbrella. I decided to go out on my own and take sex work to another level and take care of sex workers. We can all do that. But we're having such a problem organizing with each other. We're mad at this bitch because she's white. We made it this one because she's Chinese. I am Caribbean, Trinidadian, Japanese. I'm a clusterfuck of a lot of shit. I don't really give a fuck what anybody's race is. We're sex workers. We are some of everything. And our brothers, our trans brothers that are in sex work, we need to find a way to lift them up and really help them because we miss out on telling this story about our brothers. We just lost one to a senseless death. There's another kind of organizing we need to do. I need you lobbying genius, you brains, to take the guns away from cops. You see what's going on in the world today. Do they really need guns? In the UK, there's a model where they don't carry guns. We're here in the US. As organizers, these are the things we need to be fighting. Sweetie, I've been walking while I was trans for over 45 years. I don't need a motherfucking bill for that. I need
guns out of cops' hands. We need equity in homes. I've had to step up with the help of SWAT Brooklyn, SWAT Bronx, SWAT USA, SWAT Behind Bars. I've had to house people, get people out of jail. The Emergency Relief Fund, bailing people out is the best thing in the world, but giving them housing, supplying the love that they need, giving them something. We can't make people isolate, but what we can do is shelter them in place, make them feel wanted, make them feel secure. I know at 50 something years old, I'm an old hoe and will be a hoe until the day I die, but I'm doing it in a different way. I stopped selling ads so I could sell a promise and a dream. Some of y'all need to learn how to do this. And for those young children that are so inspiring, you want to burn down the city and take back New York? Bitch, take back a college. Get an education. There's nothing more grateful and more beautiful than a sex worker with a damn education. Use that. Use that. Grow from that. Become a lawyer because we need you to be a lawyer. Become a doctor because we need you to be a doctor. We need you to be a foster parent. We just need you to step up and not step out in such horrible behavior. Yes, I say a lot online. And what I do say, and I stick by it, is I will fuck somebody up if you fuck with my community. But if you fuck with me, this is a personal message to the people that keep trying hoes. Not smart. Step up in faith. Step out in life. Do something better with yourself. Inspire yourself to inspire others. It's sad. In 2020, we're looking at gay pride with no pride. We're looking at a year that sucks right now. We have to come back from this. Strippers can't strip. Strippers are doing private parties at a risk of getting killed or raped. So figure out what that looks like for their income. As sex workers, we've been independent for a very long time. We've been literally independent. We've been able to take care of ourselves without needing the government. But now that we do need, we can't even go to the government because everything is closed. It's opening back up, but what does opening up look like for a Black trans woman? What does opening up look like for a sex worker that gotta pay rent? What does it look like for somebody that can't afford to even get a room? This is hard. So we got to find a way to do this better. On International Whores Day, I'm an international hoe, bitch. I travel all over the world. Sweetie, if you can't do nothing, get a passport and take your ass to another country. You will learn something about organizing in sex work. And if you don't know that, if you ain't never been nothing but in the US, this is why you use your hold'em. Take your ass to another country. Do something better with yourself. Instead of being negative, step up. Do something great for somebody else. Because if you're not doing it, you fall in that bracket of somebody that doesn't want to change, doesn't want to make a change. We can all change, sweetie. I went from a crackhead to what I am now. And I was really, really out there. And I'm not that person anymore. And if you're out there and you're struggling with mental illness, sweetie, we are here for you. If you're struggling with addiction, we are here for you. If you're struggling with domestic violence, we are here for you. This is what we need to be worried about. I just want y'all to take this day, celebrate with your sisters from somewhere and your brothers from somewhere, love each other, hug each other, fuck each other, do what you need to do to make this day last. This is a landmark moment. International Whores Day 2020, Red Canary, y'all did this. Y'all put something together and put people on a platform so the whole world could see it. I appreciate everybody. And those that I don't appreciate, it's okay. I don't need you. But I need your support because community needs your support. And organizations all around this nation right now have access to create something new. Today, I'm actually going to look at a property, a unit for other sex workers to live in. There's no greater thing than us providing a resource for us. So at Glitz, Me and my coordinators and my partners, we've actually thought about sustainability for a Black and brown body. Another step out on faith kind of moment, another group that I belong to is Caribbean Equality. They started a food bank without no access at all. Literally started passing out food in this neighborhood. That's the kind of work that needs to be done. We have given out so much money in these past couple of months. I need y'all to give more. I need y'all to do more. I need y'all to help more. I need y'all to stay the hell out the street. Stop breaking the goddamn windows of stores. And believe it or not, I don't think that's us, that's them. Because sex workers don't do that kind of stuff. Be kind to each other. That's it. That's all I got to say. I love you. Happy International Horse Day. Bye, bitches. Do I have to unmute?
Nobody knows how to end a show quite like Cayenne. Before I want to get into the thank yous, you know, we do have a lot of work to do. This is not just a temporary moment in time. This is not just 2 hours of your day. This movement, International Horse Day, is about creating sustainability for sex workers. It's about supporting one another. It's about doing fucking better and not just demanding it of others outside of this community, whatever community you identify with. We need to do better as individuals. We have a lot of division amongst our own community, and this is a landmark moment to make tangible change. It starts with us. Some of us have more privileges than others, and we need to use our privilege in every way, not just in ways that benefit us. So please take heart to every single thing that was said today. I want to thank everyone for making this International Horse Day this special, powerful, and fucking full of community. And I'm funny about community, but this moment, this shared space, this was needed. Thank you to all of the speakers who have shared their wisdom and expertise. And thank you for the work that you are doing out there for our community. I see you. We see you. We love you. Thanks to the interpreters for live interpreting this event. Y'all are incredible. And for the amazing IWD NYC 2020 Coalition and Kink Out crew for pulling all of this together. Y'all are magical. It was a lot of work, and honestly, we couldn't have done it without you. Most of all, thanks to you. Yeah, you. Everyone who has shown up today, held space, and gathered with us. Y'all are pure fucking magic. If you want to follow any of our speakers or featured organizations on social media, believe me, I know you do. You can find their social media and contact info on internationalhorseday.com. If you're a sex worker in need of resources or an ally who wants to support, we've also got a resource page listing sex worker support organizations and COVID-19 relief funds in NYC, across the US, and across the world. So it doesn't matter where you are, we have resources for you. Now, if you haven't gotten enough of Horse Day, you should definitely check out the amazing IWD events that are taking place virtually around the world. There's a concert happening tonight, streaming from Argentina. Definitely tune into that. A week of panels and moving screenings from Toronto. I'm going to be there with that. A variety show taking place later in Denver, as well as a Chicago dance party with a top-notch lineup. One advantage of physical distancing is that we can actually tune into events from around the world. We can have multiple tabs up and run our computers a little bit wild. But essentially, we can show up as a global community. One of the virtual events that we're most excited about is our artist panel with MoMA PS1 happening tomorrow night. MoMA PS1 is hosting a panel and Q&A with some of the artists who worked on the zine that Red had mentioned a few minutes ago. You can download the zine and RSVP to the panel on internationalhorseday.com. While most of the events planned are virtual, we honor the diversity of tactics being used, including in-person street protests. For those who are in Manhattan and want to show up for Black trans victims of police violence, there will be a protest tonight at Stonewall. The times have changed to respect the new curfew that's being instated, so it will be starting at 5 p.m. Some of us will be there. Some of us will be there in spirit. Either way, we hope to see you too. Our final ask for all of you is to join our social media rally by taking photos of yourself wearing red and black. Please be sure to tag IWD NYC 2020. Let's flood social media with images of sex worker support and solidarity in honor of this fucking historic landmark day. We're about to make these motherfuckers hear us. Don't get silent. Get fucking louder. This shit ain't over. Now, to finish things up, I'm gonna invite Yen to come back, show their beautiful face. And from my heart to all of you, and to kink out to IWD and to every single one of you interpreters that has just been making this a all around inclusive moment. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Yen?
Thank you, Ashley Page. Thank you to all the organizers who have come together to make this possible. I'm going to keep this really quick. Just stay safe and keep marching on. Thank you. Have a fantastic, amazing, powerful, and safe International Horse Day.